Oh, hello, and welcome to the 600th episode of Our Time. We thought you might be interested to see what goes on behind the scenes and to meet some of the people that bring you the program each week. So follow me into the studio. We've walked through these doors for the last 14 years, and who to meet us but...
Malcolm, how are you?
No, not me, you.
Andre. Lovely to see you, Malcolm.
Yes.
It's been a few years, hasn't it?
It has. You're the studio manager.
Well, that's right. So I've been here since the very start of the show.
So you know how it all began.
We've seen a lot of crew come through here, and it's been really great.
It has.
Yeah.
Introduce us to the guys sitting in the fishbowl here.
Yeah, sure. So that's Riley on the left and Ryan on the right. So they're our sound operators, making sure everything sounds good.
Hi, this is camera 2. Oh, this is camera 4. Hi, my name is Jason, and I've been directing the last 200 plus episode. And now we have got our new director here, Justine. Let's welcome her.
Hi, I'm Justine, and I'll be taking over Our Time as the new director.
And can you introduce us to this guy who's on this camera by taking it?
Hello, I'm Marcello, and I was just previously operating the camera just then.
Yes, and done a lot of DOP on films and things. Now we're moving to our first cameraman.
My name is Nicola, and I'm on camera 3, and I've been doing Our Time for 2 months.
And such a good job you've done. The most important girl on the floor is this one.
Hi, I'm Trinity. I'm the floor manager, and I've been doing it for about 2 years.
And very well, I might say, as well. Over here, we've got a couple of guys. You are...
I'm Ruben. I'm operating camera 2 today. It's my first day, so...
And you are...
And I'm Rowan Keats, and I'm the new Our Time editor.
And you're also doing camera.
I'm also doing
Just excuse me while I pass by. Hello.
Hello, my name's Evie. I'm also in the sound department, and I do a lot of the fitting the radio mics onto the talent.
Yes, and keep your hands warm because sometimes you've got to go under the clothes. Talking about props and every other job.
Hello, my name's Anathar. I have been doing everything from camera operating to floor managing to also assisting the director.
And doing it so well. You know, when we first started doing this program, we had no set and very few people in the studio, but we used to film against this green screen here on the floor as well. And there would be images put behind that made it look like we were in these high-rise buildings in New York or somewhere. This is another one of our cameramen. This is...
Hello, Malcolm. I'm Isaac Horsfall Sutton, and this is my 31st episode.
Have you added them all up?
I sure have.
You've done a great job. Oh, it's time for us to start the show. Stand by. Welcome to Our Time. Hello, Dianne Gall.
Hello, Malcolm.
How lovely to see you.
It's lovely to be here.
And on our 600th episode, I thought the best thing we could do is talk about the man who made this program happen at the very beginning, and that was in 2010. I can't believe it's been going for so long.
Yes.
But let's talk about your dad, because he had the foresight to see it right back at the very beginning of community television, that a program that was particularly aimed at the time to senior citizens or baby boomers, because at the time we were all baby boomers, you're not, of course, but unfortunately your dad is no longer with us, and what he set up was something that's rather special. So let's talk about your dad. What was your dad to you?
My dad was many things. He inspired me to do whatever I wanted to do, be whatever I wanted to be, and work hard at it, and anything was possible, I guess.
Well, he worked at the ABC initially,
yes.
And you work there now.
I
did work
I
there.
did work at the ABC for 16 years, actually.
Well, there you go. There is... our guest in the second part of the program has also just finished. Peter Goers is joining us on this 600th episode, and he's just finished up at the ABC as well. But your dad worked at the ABC. You brought in something that I think is just lovely to see. Back in those days, you had to have a security badge.
Yes.
So we've got some photos here of your dad sort of right from the beginning. So let's have a look at them, because it's really good to see the progression of somebody and their working life.
Yes.
This was his pass card. Don't you love that?
Yes.
I mean, we have these things now that we wear, but this pass remains the property of the Australian Broadcasting Commission, must be carried at all times whilst the holder is on duty, and must be presented for inspection on demand. Nothing much has changed because these days everybody's got all of that sort of thing. So your dad started off working in production at the ABC, but he was, back in those days, they were basically threading videotapes and things. That's the area that he worked, wasn't it? This is him as a young man.
Yes, young technician.
Look at all that high-tech gear behind them. All those fuses. Obviously, John is in the middle. What's he doing here?
Oh, look,
Being naughty,
this
I
is
suspect.
his cheeky side. He loved aeroplanes, and he had a light aircraft licence, private licence, and he also ended up being CEO of the Air Training Corps as well. So it was a bit of a Biggles moment here, where he had control of the station.
I love that. Well, this is where he did get a chance to fly.
Yes.
And John's in the blue, standing up in the blue jeans. This is when he worked with Channel 9, obviously, and that's Robin Reinfeldt, who was the first host on this program, actually. But back in the old days when there was actually local production here.
Yes. A long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. Sadly, all of that's gone. Here's another shot of him behind the camera. Obviously, he's the John that we probably all remember here. Sitting upstairs directing the show. This would have been at Channel 9 because I was working there. I'm pretty sure that's 9, isn't it?
I think it might be, yes.
I think it's Studio 2 at Channel 9.
Yes.
John used to often direct the afternoon show that I produced there called the Channel 9ers. So we had lots of conversations about what we were doing. He also directed Here's Humphrey and a lot of other things. Then, well, he's looking very directorial there. But then after this, John went to TAFE and was teaching students at TAFE.
Yes, and making educational programs for the different departments like dance, hairdressing,
All the different things that TAFE taught,
yes.
including TV. But then community television started here, and it started very small in a warehouse at Mile End, as I recall. And the manager then of the station, I don't know, how did he know John? Do you know?
Oh, look, I think he sought him out, actually. Dad sought him out. Yeah, I remember him talking about it. He always was talking about all these different people. It's like, who are you talking about?
Well, that is one of the things working in this industry. You get to meet and know an awful lot of people. But he came up with the idea of the program, and as I was saying in the beginning, it was just actually behind us here. We used to have 2 seats side by side and a table and nothing else in the studio, but it looked like we were in some high-rise building, and we'll show some footage of that later.
Yes.
The other thing I loved about your dad, and he was quite quiet about this, and I only knew this because at Channel 9 in the main studio there was an area that a live band used to play from to back the singers and dancers sometimes on the Tonight shows. And there was a great big grand piano there, and occasionally you'd hear this classical music coming from the band area, but there was no show, and you thought it was John practicing.
Yes, anywhere there was a piano, he would go, and the ABC was similar because the ASO used to be based there. So he'd always sneak down and play the piano when he wasn't supposed to.
Amazing. Well, this is John at one of those pianos, and I recall not long after I started doing the program, he had a recital at one of the churches in Victoria Square here in Adelaide, and I was amazed. I had no idea that he was so proficient. He really did keep that very quietly.
It was a passion. It was a lifelong passion for him. He went back and did further studies at the Conservatorium quite late in life as well. But yeah, he performed back in the 70s. And just, something he did.
Well, he was a very interesting man with so many tangents to what he could do. But when he came up with this program, he was looking for people to come and talk on it, like some of the programs that we used to produce on free-to-air television back in those days, before everything sort of became not local anymore, particularly here in Adelaide. Like in Melbourne and Sydney, everything still goes on, but not here in Adelaide, sadly. Oh, and now everything's on a file,
Yes,
all on a computer.
Yeah.
Speaking of a computer, we have to take a short break and we'll be back in a tick.
I'm Jess Pearce and I'm from Kaleidoscope Arts. I'm an entertainer and performer, arts and craft operator and puppeteer. Congratulations to Our Time for the 600 episode and staff.
My name's Greg John, Artistic Director of Big Sing McLaren Vale. And I'd like to extend hearty congratulations to Malcolm and the team for this wonderfully entertaining and informative Our Time.
I'm Liz Forsyth from Brain Injury SA, and I'd like to congratulate Our Time on their 600 episodes. It's fantastic to have this kind of program in the community.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Lee, that radio chick. I'd like to thank Malcolm for having me on his show. Who would have known 13 years later he would still be going on Our Time and celebrating his 600th episode. Congratulations, everyone involved.
Hi, my name's Greg Mackey. I'm the Chief Executive of the History Trust of South Australia, and I just want to say fantastic and congratulations to Malcolm and the crew for the longest running television program in South Australia's history.
Hi, this is Betty Sammers, producer at 5AA. Congratulations, Malcolm and the team. Our Time, 600 episodes. Well done.
And welcome back. My special guest is Dianne Gall. We've been talking about her dad who began the Our Time program back in October. It actually went to air the first time in October the 25th, 2010. You were only a baby then.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. It's amazing, isn't it?
Mm.
But we haven't talked about you.
No.
Because you're also an artist.
Yes.
Talk about your art.
Well, I'm a painter. So I graduated art school like 35 years ago or so, and I've been exhibiting professionally since then. I've shown in America and San Francisco and New York, in Berlin as well, and all around Australia. But painting's my love. I do like photography, but I'm a painter. I can't breathe if I haven't painted. I have to paint. I'm completely driven to do it.
And what do you use? What medium?
So I'm an oil painter. I only use oil painting. I don't do preliminary sketches or prints or anything else. I just like to paint. So
what the ideas just come boom in your mind?
No, it's not. So I have a series that I work on for years at a time. So I come up with a very well thought out ethos of what I'm painting about, and I explore that until I've exhausted it, or I need to paint about something else. My life might change, so I'm driven to another subject matter.
That's really interesting. So where do the subject matters come from? Where does the ideas come from?
Well, they're usually from within myself. When I was very young, I read that a writer writes about their experiences, and I adapted that to being a painter. So I paint about how I feel about things and my journey in life, I suppose. So. Yeah.
But the inspiration comes from where?
From myself.
Just from yourself?
From my reaction to the world around me.
Oh, okay. But something stimulates you to have a reaction, and then you react in oil, so to speak.
Yeah. So I
was baby
painting,
oil? Or?
So I was painting about isolation quite a lot before COVID, actually. So when COVID hit, a lot of people could relate to it because I often paint the singular female in a room, so they're quite psychological, the imagery that I use. They're also vintage in feel, so they strike a chord with people. They can relate to them because it's a human being, so they can relate. I'm a human, you're a human, so it's something that immediately it's a form, a realistic form that they can identify with.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And then I sort of have a staged story, but I don't tell the whole story. I want the viewer to make up their own mind about what the painting's about.
Right, so it's like having the story where the end is left open and I think this will happen.
Yes. Yes.
How interesting. See, all of us have all these facets to our lives, like your dad with piano playing. Well, getting back to the program though, and thanks for talking about that. We've been looking at some of your paintings while we've been talking about that, but when the program first began, there was no budget for it. It just had to happen. And we've got some footage here of the very first show with the two hosts on the show. Debbie was actually Janice Beebe's sister-in-law, I think. And in the background there, you can see it looks like we're in a very salubrious place. Your dad took a long time to find these backgrounds because this was all green screen. So again, just standing in front of the green screen and all this was happening behind. And this was sort of the main host set. And this was Janice, who did, I think she did up to about 450 episodes. She started in episode 9, and she's actually talking about me there, I think. The fact that I was going to be on the program to be interviewed. And then just prior to this, she's asked me, would I like to become the other host? I was fat then, I still am. But I used to love turning around looking out the window because it was a green screen. And this was interesting because this was just a desk. There was a little square cut out in the middle electronically, and we would sit behind this pretend desk, and all this surround was chroma keyed in. I think this was our 400th episode. There's Phil, who used to be our floor manager in the grey shirt. Another Phil next to him, who did audio right at the very beginning, and on the left-hand side of the screen, our two makeup girls who were with us for years, which was just fantastic. Some of the camera people and so on. Now, around 2014, 15, 16, it looked like the show was going to be put off air along with community television, and this was us and the crew who worked with us. So there's a lot of people involved making this program, and we're basically sort of saying thank you to everybody and goodbye, not knowing, of course, that the government was working on maybe, maybe not, maybe, maybe not. And the two station managers, both in Melbourne and here in Adelaide, were working very hard in the background. These are the people that were working on the show at the time.
The commercial stations have their own agendas, it's all driven by other things, but with community TV you can reach everyone with
a huge mix.
Yes, yeah.
It is a huge mix. I've been very lucky because in my time with the program, I've had the chance of meeting some really interesting and also unusual people that normally I wouldn't get to talk to. Like even you, I wouldn't necessarily get to talk to.
No.
Quite a while ago, there was a film about a group of First Nation people that were performing for people in Vietnam, and Marina Tapsell and Jessica Malboy were here in Adelaide. They were doing, I've got some footage of this too, they were doing interviews with all the different stations, and here's a little bit of what we talked about on that day. So what was interesting here was Marina, everybody wanted to talk to Jess Malboy, and Marina Tapsell was sitting outside where this was being filmed underneath the staircase in the cinema, and nobody wanted to talk to her, and I said, I'll talk to you. So we came together and they started singing for me, which was just lovely. And it was a really lovely interview. They were both just such charming people to talk with. And we sort of let loose for half an hour and they just chatted on. It was lovely. But talking before, Nick Xenophon was on the show, and he's actually telling the public here to talk to their local member to make sure that community television can still stay in the hands of each of the stations that were still existing. Jacinta Price to discuss her life and her opinion on this confusing issue. And fortunately, I had the pleasure of meeting Jacinta on her national tour. And while she was at my theatre.
Yes.
So I took the opportunity to record this interview with her. Now, you may not agree with some of her thoughts or her opinions on what First Nation people should be doing for the future and how the rest of the country needs to be addressing the issues that are being brought up. However, this may make it a little clearer for you, hearing both sides of the argument.
Very good.
Welcome, Jacinta. Thanks for being part of our time.
Thank you for having me.
Jacinda, what is your background? Because it's not that you're controversial as such, but it's more that people probably don't really know your backstory.
Sure. Well, I was born in the Northern Territory in Darwin, lived on Melville Island as a youngster. My parents were teachers up there on those islands. I have a connection to that place, the Aboriginal way, where your baby spirit comes from the land and into your mum's belly when you are conceived or when your mother first realises she is pregnant with you. So I have crocodile dreaming, which is the dreaming up there on Tiwi country. They regard me as family. My mother is Warrapri, however, from a place called Yuendamu, which is 300 kilometres northwest of Alice Springs. And my father is, I'll use the terms white fella and black fella because that's just how we talk. He's a white fella from Newcastle, New South Wales. And from the Tiwi Islands, we moved to the Kimberley when I was still a little one. And from there, I grew up in Alice Springs. So I've grown up with a Warrapri mum and a white Australian dad. And
Well, that's two cultures to start with.
That's two cultures to start.
Did they have a clash when you were young?
Yeah. I think our lives have been about trying to figure one another out. Well, mum and dad trying to figure each other out and me being the medium between them both.
Interesting.
And certainly I think the biggest challenges came from cultural differences and navigating our way through those differences. And look, we still navigate our way to this day. But given that mum and dad are still together after all these years, I think it's a pretty good indication that we've done all right.
But that's part of your story, really, isn't it? It's trying to bring everybody together rather than trying to separate. But it was interesting because all those times have passed now, and the fact that we scored an interview where she really had a chance to do a long-form conversation, and that's why community television's so good, I think.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming and sharing those memories, and also looking at your paintings.
Yeah.
And we're going to be back in a tick with, I've got to call him a social agitator, I think. The amazing Peter Goers will be back after this break.
I'm Steve Wayland.
And I'm Teresa Dolman.
And on behalf of Mike Tucker, all of us are from Two Blokes and a Motorbike, and we would like to congratulate
Our Time on their 600th episode.
Good work, guys. Well done.
Hi, I'm Amanda Cruz and I'm the creator of the Blind Eye Trilogy and more specifically One Punch Wonder.
And we are the cast of One Punch Wonder.
And we'd like to say congratulations to Malcolm and the crew
for their 600th episode of Our Time.
Congratulations.
My name is Jessica McCall and I'm the presenter and producer of BTS with Jess, a behind-the-scenes arts show designed to encourage and inspire young people to get creative. I can't imagine what it must take to make 600 episodes of Our Time, so congratulations.
Bonsoir. I'm Andrew Mackenzie from Panache Adelaide French Theatre. We would like to congratulate Our Time on achieving its 600th episode, and we would like to say in French, bravo, félicitations, et bonne continuation.
My name is Reese Hayes.
And my name is Callan Diamond.
And we are the dancers from Men Who Dance. And we'd like to congratulate Malcolm and the crew at Our Time for
the 600th episode.
And welcome back to our 600th episode and our very special guest here in Our Time, Peter Goers. Welcome.
Hello, Malcolm Half. You look all right against orange.
I know.
Yes.
I look
in that
good against
amazing
anything.
jacket. Did birds shit on your jacket?
That's what it looks like. Now, Peter, that's enough about me. Let's sort out you.
It's a nice bit of schmutzer,
It is nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of people listen to you on the radio and have for how many years?
20 years.
And prior to that, you did TV, and prior to that, let's just go back to the beginning, because a lot of people don't know your backstory.
No.
So you were born...
I'm sitting on my backstory.
Boom, boom. You were born... Were you born here in South Australia?
Yeah.
At Woodville?
At Memorial Hospital.
Memorial Hospital.
Yeah.
And well, we all know that it's out. We're going to put it on the bottom of the screen, slowly running through all the different years of your life.
Yeah.
No, but because you've been on radio for so long, a lot of people have forgotten what you look like. Although you would have to be the most travelled radio person ever.
Yes.
Because every weekend you're off everywhere. But let's again go back to the beginning.
Right.
What made you interested in show business? Because that's really where it started, wasn't it, in the theatre?
And I was not from a show business family, just the contrary. Both my parents were sports people. They'd both played sports for the state. And along I come, and I was completely hopeless at sport. And I think it's because I had a fear of moving balls coming towards me, contrary to popular belief. And I was hopeless. In fact, I think the worst memory was in the Uniting Church Under-12s basketball grand final, and I was sitting on the sidelines in my little Dunlop volley sand shoes and my little green and gold shorts and singlet, and they put me on in the last 30 seconds of the game when they were absolutely sure they had it won. And as I ran on, I looked over to this look of extraordinary dismay and disappointment on my father's face. You know, to think he'd played basketball for the state, and here I was, absolutely hopeless. You never forget that sort of thing.
But you swim.
I was a swimmer. Well, I didn't actually swim competitively. I just liked swimming. I still like swimming. I don't swim much now. I bob around like a cork. But I love swimming, and I taught swimming for 10 years for university.
I mean, these things are really unusual, but interesting to people who don't really know your background.
I taught mainly disabled kids at the Norwood Pool all through the winter. But we were not a theatrical family. My parents went to see Pyjama Game, I think, at the Theatre Royal when my mother was pregnant with me. So that was the only time I was ever in the Theatre Royal.
You were infused.
In utero. And then they didn't go to the theatre for another 15 years. And I wonder, could Pyjama Game have been that bad to put them off? But I think the first piece of theatre I ever saw was remarkable in the sense that it was a puppet show at the Arts Theatre performed by the dreaded Rick Marshall and his Yattler prisoner puppeteers. And it was particularly remarkable because about halfway through, police invaded the auditorium because some of the puppeteers had escaped. And they had to close the show. So that was memorable. Story. That was memorable.
How old were you then?
I was, I don't know, about 12. And then when I was 15, I saw in one...
But did you think that was going to happen in every theatre?
Practically. I thought, you know, this is show business, wow. And then I saw, in 1 week, I saw Kiss Me Kate at the Arts Theatre, and I saw a marvellous production by Tyrone Guthrie of Oedipus Rex at Benithan Hall, which was touring the nation.
Quite heavy.
Both were brilliant, particularly Oedipus Rex. And I thought, well, you know, I'd seen Kiss Me Kate and Oedipus Rex. I'd really seen the whole theatre, the whole gamut of theatre in 1 week.
Yes.
And then I started working, you know, I played the Artful Dodger at school. And, you know, you would remember the first time you go on stage, Malcolm, and it's terrifying.
I was 3, and I remember it so clearly.
Well, I was you know, standing in the wings at the Woodville Town Hall for Findon High School, and the Artful Dodger doesn't come on till late, about 45 minutes in. I'm standing in the wings, and I was particularly worried about the dance in Consider Yourself, because I am not a dancer, and I was, you know, wasn't a performer until this moment. And you know, you're standing there and you have no more pee to give. You know, you've had all those nervous wheeze. And I was thinking, this is ridiculous. Why am I doing this? I'm going to go out.
I remember that feeling.
I'm going to go out and make a fool of myself in front of 1,500 people, and I can't do this. And then I thought, why don't I just creep away, go out the stage door and get on my Malvern Star bike and ride home, and they can ad-lib around the Artful Dodger.
Yes, and not actually possible.
I won't, you know, embarrass myself. No. And there's your cue, and then, of course, you're on. And then you realise, as you well know, Malcolm, that, you know, the stage is a very scary place, but it's also a very safe place. And, you know, downstage centre, and you learn the power, and you also get a laugh, And then that's
Once
it.
you hear that laugh,
that's it.
you're
that's
away.
It. That's the greatest drug of all.
I don't know about you, but sort of for me, it becomes, it's not me anymore. I fall into the character, whatever I'm playing.
Well,
suddenly it's not me anymore.
Acting's a holiday from yourself.
Well, it is. What a great way of putting
I admire you, Malcolm, because you've always encouraged not only the young in your long career, but also the old. And
I was just one of the lucky ones that started off at the end of the vaudeville era and the beginning of the TV era.
Yes.
So I worked with a lot of vaudeville performers or variety performers, and I was lucky enough to meet when I was at 9, to meet quite a lot of the international touring people. And in fact, in those days, Equity used to make sure that there were at least 5 Australians booked for every international touring show. So it was easy to book somebody to introduce them. So
I think I've
that's what
done
I
that
did.
too, because back when I was first starting in the theatre, I thought we don't, as a society, give enough respect and honour to senior performers.
I couldn't agree more.
I made that a mission my whole life, and I think maybe I've helped a bit, and you certainly have too, that the respect for older performers has grown.
Yes, if you don't know where we came from, it's really hard to know where we're going.
Exactly.
And in one generation, we often, like the old vaudeville gags and stuff, they're new now. Some of them are a bit woke, or the people watching them might be a bit woke to enjoy them. But the reality is, life just keeps, it's a circle.
I once visited...
Oh, we can all burst into Circle of Life, the song. Maybe not.
I'm not big on that show.
Just hold that thought of managing.
What are we talking about?
That's all right, because we've got to take a short break, and we'll be back with Pete.
I'm Chris from Bugs and Slugs, and I want to wish Our Time a happy 600th episode from me and all the bugs.
The Honourable Martin Hamilton-Smith, former opposition leader, minister and politician, former officer in the Australian Defence Force. Congratulations to Our Time on their 600th episode. There can never be enough high quality community news, particularly on television. At a time when we're bamboozled by news from all around the globe, it's good to see local community news shining through.
Hi, my name is Stan Novakovsky. I'm a sign language interpreter and a flying instructor. I wanted to send my most heartfelt congratulations to Malcolm and the team from Our Time on their 600th episode. Congratulations.
I'm Charlie, an illusionist, and I'm so pleased to be on the show. Congratulations to Malcolm and the team for making 600 episodes.
Our guest is, can I call you raconteur or can I call you social agitator?
Whatever you like, Malcolm.
I think at times you could be a social agitator, but just let's go back. We were talking about when you were young and how you got interested in theatre. But then you became both a theatre director, a performer. Talk about that part of your life.
I directed first at 18, which was very hard because you realise, you're directing people who've been on stage, twice as long as you've been alive. But then you realise, really the better the performer, the more direction they want and need.
And like.
Exactly. So, that was my life really. And I'm back to that. I wasn't able to do much because I was working nights for 20 years at the ABC, which was a great gig. I loved that gig. It was the best thing that ever happened to me doing that. I loved those 20 years.
You did the right thing too. You got out and met the people.
I did, oh yes.
Every weekend you were somewhere.
Well, I suppose I was fortunate in that I'm a single person. So each weekend I was able to go somewhere. I didn't have family commitments.
How many toilets did you open?
2.
Okay.
2 public toilets.
How many other
one in Lock and one in Mount Gambier.
There you go. How many other public places were you involved?
I did 1,000 gigs in 20 years, all over the state. I think, when I started and talking to the state every night and to the Silver City of Broken Hill, someone would ring from Kalangadoo or Coomanduk or Kai Kai or Pujanagoric, and you'd think, well, the least I can do is to go there and see how, why they live there. And of course that advantaged me as a broadcaster, because when they rang from Kumanduk or Kalangadu or Pujanagoric, I could relate to them and say, oh, you know, that's a very unusual institute hall, and, you know, is that shop still open, and how's old Fred at the pub, that sort of thing. So it meant that I could identify.
Well, you genuinely worked the audience.
Absolutely.
If you're on stage, you'd be doing the same thing, but in a confined area.
And I had a lot of adventures and enjoyed country hospitality. You know, and I think often, Malcolm, politicians particularly forget that they seem to imagine that Adelaide is a city-state.
Yes.
That it stops at Jeff's
It's not
Cross,
Singapore.
the toll gate.
Yep.
And Darlington, whereas in many ways it starts there.
Yes,
I think too, and country people want affirmation. You know, it matters to them that you do show an interest. Once you get there, you can say what you like, which I frequently did, you know, and sent them up. But going there is what's important.
But your shows that you now do, sorry, we're jumping to the
All
present.
over the place.
I just want to go back to the past.
That's all right.
But the shows that you do now, is raconteur is that too old-fashioned word to describe what you do?
They're sort of, I call them platform pieces. They're not. I'm not
because
a stand-up.
you're on a platform?
I'm not a stand-up comedian, although I am making my debut as a stand-up comedian at the Crown and Anchor Hotel. Yes, doing a quick
part
five.
of saving it?
A quick five, yeah. I might kill it.
You might kill it.
But you know,
they might want to demolish and build something bigger.
But yeah. So those shows, yes, I've done 9 fringe shows, often with Willsy and her sister Susan.
That's Anne Wills.
And my friend Smacker, the singer.
Yeah.
And they're stories. I tell stories.
Yeah.
And
but your stories are actually quite delightful. Talking about what you've been writing about in the Sunday Mail, for how many years have you been doing
33 years, that column.
See, I read that. It's the first thing I read in the paper every Sunday morning.
Thank you.
It's my moment of, what's the expression, guilty pleasure. To
33 years,
get in the paper and read your column. What's he on about this week, I often think. Then I read the letters to the editor and see who disagrees with you. Do you ever read those?
Or agrees, yes.
Yeah, or agrees, yes.
Yes, I do.
Sometimes people agree.
Yep.
But you had an interesting career on TV for a while.
Well, that was a strange career. Television is very strange.
Oh, I don't know. I'm completely at home here.
I mean, you've been working
with
in it
our
for
lovely,
years.
With our
and 14 years of this show.
It's 14 years.
But you did a lot of television in the heyday, and then through Malcolm, a lot of
very
children's
lucky.
television.
Yeah, genuinely lucky. I started when I was 14 singing on the Channel 9ers show I went on to produce 18 years later.
Yes.
And then, of course, with Here's Humphrey for such a long time. Then all the morning ladies' chat shows, flogging merchandise.
I think television, you know, John Belushi said that television, you're acting out of a piece of furniture.
A lot of the time we are.
Yeah. So it was about 85 or something, and Lincoln Tyner, who was a producer at Channel 10, which became 7. No, 7, which became 10, you know, when that happened. And he said, how about you host horror movies? And I said, oh, that's okay, like Deadly
This
Ernest.
was, yes, after Deadly
Fine.
Ernest.
So I auditioned, and they gave me the gig, and I went to meet with the then manager, Stavros Pipos. And Lincoln said, don't talk about money, they don't like you talking about money. You know, they'll send you a cheque for what they're going to pay you after the first week.
Be nice to know what you're getting, right?
So, you know, I was very green. So in order to host a horror movie, I would have to drive from Woodville to Channel 7, Strangways Terrace. Yep. Yeah. Get the beta tape, take it home, watch it, research it, write the copy, drive to Channel 7 a couple of days earlier so they could type the copy onto the porta prompts, which in those days were on a long piece of paper, as you know.
Yep.
And very difficult to work. You remember those? Because you had to, you worked it with your foot.
I didn't have to do that, they did all that.
Like Kevin Crease had his own operator. But you had to work it with your foot like a sewing machine pedal.
Yeah. Don't go too fast. Don't
it would
press
either go too fast like that, or it would go too slowly. And it's like rubbing your tummy and patting your head to have to work that.
I can do that.
No.
I can actually do that.
Anyway, so it was about 9 hours work. Then to get to the studio, be made up, hang around, because as you know, hurry up and wait.
Everything in film and television is
hurry up and wait.
Yep.
So it was about 9 hours, and I recorded the first one, an intro and outro. And at the end of the first week, they sent me a cheque for $17.25, which was $20 less tax, which was equity minimum for half an hour studio time. So I did that for some months, and they eventually upped the money, and I ended up hosting midday movies and sort of golden years of Hollywood type things and the horror movies. But it gave me an audience. It intrigues me. So you think in the 80s, it's nearly 40 years ago, so a lot of, like
more than
I
40
did,
years ago.
like I did, you'd watch Deadly Earnest when you were 12. So there were young guys, particularly aged 12, 14, who watched me. So 40 years later, they remember me. And I'll be somewhere and someone will come up to me and they'll say, "You used to host horror movies on Channel 10. And I say, "Yes." And then I know what's coming. There'll be a pause and then they'll say, "So what have you done since then?" I'm always glad of a gig.
Aren't we all?
Malcolm, aren't we? You know, and work is sacred. Work is more fun than fun.
It's that old saying, if you love what you're doing, you never have to work a day in your life. And it's very true, actually.
But
I feel
you
like
know,
it.
always honour the gig. You know, if people want you and ask you to do something, do it. I almost never say no.
Do you know, I think that's the secret. But speaking of secrets, we just have to take one more break. We'll be back in a tick.
Hi, I'm Alison Kershaw from Be Curious, and congratulations to Malcolm and the Our Time team on 600 episodes. Community television would be so different without you, and you've made such an enormous impact. Congratulations.
Hi, I'm Peter Christopher, Director of the Clipper Ship City of Adelaide project. Congratulations on your 600th episode. You must be getting almost as old as the Clipper Ship. Well done.
Hi, I'm Shane Wilson. I'm an event and entertainment producer here in South Australia, and oh my, I can't believe it is 600 episodes. Congratulations to Malcolm Harsler and all over the team in Our Time. What a fantastic achievement.
Hi, I'm Lauren Brady. And I'm Megan Sweet. We came all the way from Canada to do a Fringe show. And congratulations on your 600th episode. Yeah! Yeah!
Our guest is raconteur and social agitator, because I love saying that to you, because you do in the paper when you sometimes stir the pot, sometimes say what people actually think, sometimes what they don't think, but make them think. How's that affected you? Because you get a bit of flack from time to time.
It doesn't worry me.
No.
I mean, you have your say and everyone can have their say. It's as simple as that.
The beauty of living in a democracy, isn't it?
I mean, when I was a little kiddie, knee-high to a grasshopper, my father said, "You can't fight City Hall." And I took that piece of advice and I've never stopped trying to fight City Hall, I think.
Is that something that comes from the past? Did something go wrong for you when you were young?
No.
Have you had a you lived in Ireland for a while.
I lived in Turkey.
You lived in Turkey, but you went to Ireland.
And then
What happened?
Well, I just didn't like the weather.
Oh, okay. But you sold everything. You sold all your books. You got rid of everything, never to return.
In '96 and returned in 3 years later.
We'll want to say
it's good to live somewhere else.
I couldn't agree with you more. But you went to Ireland for a specific reason. It didn't work out.
I just didn't like the weather, that drizzle. And the Irish are very perverse. I mean, why does
they speak well of you?
Why do you know? Why are we surprised?
Is that because you've also been the voice behind the Anzac Day early morning services for a long time?
I love doing that.
when you went to Turkey, you obviously went to the beachfront there.
Yes, I was in Gallipoli 18 times because it's 4.5 hours down the road from Istanbul, so it was relatively easy to get to. And they were great experiences there. I loved that there. I'm a student of that Gallipoli campaign, and it was a great honour to be there so often, and under 2 Anzac Days. But no, I do believe that we should be judged as Australians by our attitude to veterans, and I've really enjoyed my many experiences with veterans and working with veterans.
But they're war veterans, but the same with sort of show business people as well.
Absolutely.
But those who have come before us, it's the point we made earlier about if we don't know what's happened in the past, we're not going to have much of a future.
Without them. And there's no new ideas, is there? It's all been done
not
before.
Really. No.
Yeah.
Recently a show came to our place and they were saying how new and how fabulous it all was. And it was just what we would produce as a variety format show, And it's like, we used to do this years ago.
Yeah, but each young generation thinks they're rediscovering, they're creating something, don't they? Which is fair enough.
Yeah, but I think it's also our responsibility as older people to be able to pass on some information or to engage them, as hopefully you will have in this program, to engage them in stories of the past, because like we have a lot of filmmakers here, student filmmakers who are working these shows, and they will be looking for content to make as part of their uni courses. So again, it's interesting to hear people like yourself talk about your history.
Well, I think too, that we have a duty to the young to advise them, and they have a duty to us to ignore completely what we're telling them, as we did.
As we did. Absolutely, as we did.
But the important thing is to listen.
Who influenced you?
Well, lots of people. Groucho Marx.
Yes.
And Barry Humphries.
Oh, absolutely.
They're my gods, with a small g, absolutely.
And how did they influence you?
In terms of comedy, and in terms of thinking, and in terms of everything, really, everything.
You got to know Barry Humphries?
Yes, I did, yeah.
And we both know of a man who was a dresser for Barry Humphries, who still lives in Melbourne. And Lewis Jacobs, his name is, and he's told me many stories about working with Barry. How did you get to meet him?
Well, I was working at John Martin's, age 15.
As you do.
And I was working in the sub-basement, in the stores, in the crockery department, wearing a grey dust jacket. And I had to carry things up from the sub-basement and put them on the counter for the customer in the crockery department of the basement.
Oh, okay.
This is 1971, the period of the stoneware dinner service. They were very heavy. One day, I'm nearly within sight of the counter, and suddenly I'm thwacked in the back of the legs by a shopping trolley, and I turned around. I nearly dropped the dinner service. I turned around, and there, flanked by Sir Edward Hayward and Ian Hayward, the owners of John Martin's, was this extraordinary looking woman, dark eyes, Cheshire cat grin, gloved hands, floating panels of coral pink chiffon. It was Barry Humphries. Now that wasn't an introduction, it was a collision. Back in the 80s...
Did you know who he was before that?
Oh, of course,
okay.
Yeah, but he deliberately, it was a collision.
Yeah.
And then I got to work with him 10 years later when I was working at the Performing Arts Collection and he was coming over. And I learned what he was like in a dressing room. He'd be dressing as Edna and you'd be talking to him as Barry. And suddenly the wig went on and I said, oh, Barry, such and such. And he'd turned to me as Edna and said, do you see Barry here? As in Edna's voice. And I realised once the wig went on, he was Edna. It was total. He would say things that Edna wouldn't necessarily say, but in Edna's voice.
In Edna's voice, yeah.
And anyway, we were friends for 40 years, and he was very, very loyal. The older one gets Malcolm Hazlitt, the more one should value loyalty and kindness. And he was both. He was a very, very loyal person, and he could be very kind.
Oh, that's exactly the stories that I've been told.
Yeah.
Lewis has told me.
Yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because it was the same working with Humphrey Bear, a very odd parallel, but as soon as the head went on, it was Humphrey,
That's right,
it wasn't the
He
operator.
could also be tricky, annoying. Well, not annoying, but, you know, he loved playing games.
Well, isn't that where he got a lot of his material?
Practical
Watching
jokes,
people.
You know,
yeah.
he loved that.
Yeah.
He loved that, which could be a little tedious, but he was a great man. He was the greatest performing artist this country has ever produced, and he was immortal. And I wept for a week when he died.
I can understand that. I really can understand that, because these people affect our lives in ways that they will never know.
And also, as you well know, Malcolm, that particularly in show business, people come and go in your lives, and often they work with you, and then they go away and they do wonderful things, and they come back, they don't want to know you. And he made up for all those people, you know, because he did want to know you, and that was very, very effective.
Well, everyone you've known in your life is really part of your history.
Yes.
And if you don't embrace that, and if you don't enjoy that, I mean, people that are passengers, as our dear friend Phil used to call them, they sort of miss out on a great deal in life, because they really have never got on the bus. They've just gone through and forgotten us all.
And our great friend Phil Skinner, whom I miss terribly, and so do you, Malcolm. I mean, but her advice, you've got to have a good opener, darling.
Yes.
What's your opener?
Yes.
You know, the first gag. And I remember she was doing a sort of melodrama at the Repertory and the Arts Theatre, very late in her life. And I was standing...
Oh, yes.
And I went... for some reason, I was in the wings. I wasn't in the show, but I just went backstage to watch it from the wings. And we were standing in the wings waiting to go on. And she looked out on that stage, you know, and her whole life had been on stages. And she said, "Look, darling, look at the pinks and the blues. You know, the lights."
In reference to lighting, yep.
You know, and that it's where we belong.
Yep. You've got out of a sick bed to come to do this, so thank you so much for that.
We're like the Trump-Biden debate here, aren't we? Yeah.
Oh, which one are you?
Goodbye.
And we'll be back.
Thanks for having me.
Congratulations to Malcolm Hazlitt and the team at Our Time for their 600th program. 13 years and still going strong. I'm Rob Morrison from Curiosity Show.
Hi, my name is Marie Johnson Harrison. I'm a model and also an artist, and I had a lovely time on Our Time, and I congratulate the program for their 600th episode, which is fantastic.
Hello, I'm Davis Brown, costume designer and a producer, and I would like to congratulate Our Time on reaching their 600th episode. Well done, everybody.
I'm Leonie Locke, and I'm a surrogate mum.
And I'm Simone Curitin, a surrogacy lawyer for Equal Justice Lawyers.
And congratulations to Malcolm and all the crew here for 600 amazing episodes.
Hello there, my name is Ilse Strautinch. I do palm reading and numerology, and I want to congratulate the show on reaching 600 episodes. I think it was destined to be.
Well, we've almost come to the end of our 600th Our Time show. 100 shows ago, we had our 500th show, and this was our cast of characters then. Let's look at that. Thank you, everybody. It's just been great to have you as our guests and you as our crew for the last 12 years. Look, now here's everybody who's worked on this program and many others. We didn't meet the sound people before, props and everything else, who's got a knife, because they always have a knife to cut the cake. But before we leave, we've just got to thank Jason for 200 plus episodes of being our director. And we know you've got so much ahead of you in life, and we hope to follow your career in the future, but more particularly, thank you for all the hours of doing this. and Blake up there who edits madly. But now it's time to cut the cake. Everybody, hands on mine, please. Here we go. For the 600th episode, before we cut, thank you for watching this show for so many years, and may there be many more for us all. Here we go. Cue the credits.